My lock of the week this week happens to be an underdog. I'm going to tell you exactly who that is. Welcome back to Lucrative Hammer of the Week.
All right, boys, let's go. If this gets to 230, we're going to cash yet another bet and cash the Hammer of the Week so the people on YouTube will be happy as well as the VIP. 230, let's go. The over 1.5 rounds just cashed. Shout out to the YouTube scene because we just cashed Hammer of the Week, but we also cashed Julia Palastri KO. I gave that out on YouTube and my VIPs cashed that. And we cash inside the distance Julia Palastri plus 300, plus 1200 for the KO. And we cash as well inside the distance plus 340. I'm going to stop there, boys, because we cashed everything today, as we always do. Let's effing go.
So welcome back once again, guys, to Lucrative Hammer of the Week, episode number 4. If you don't know what the Hammer of the Week is, it's a video I make weekly on my YouTube where I give you the best betting spot on the entire card, or one of the best spots, or one of the best value spots, or one of my favorite bets. This weekend, the UFC are in good old Canada, Vancouver, where we have Reina de Ridder taking on Brendan Allen in a matchup that could determine one of the next guys who fights for the middleweight title. And you know your boy James is here, as always, to put some money in your pocket. Before we start the video, do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button. It motivates me to keep coming back and making more videos, so I'd appreciate it. So the Hammer of the Week is still in his infancy. We're 4 episodes in. We're currently 2-2 on hammers. The 2 losses we took was Patchy Mix. That was a split decision in a fight that most guys thought he won. So I don't think that was a good bet at all. In fact, it was a bad bet, but it could have won. The only other loss we've had is Jared Gordon in a fight where he got hit by a car and tore his knee a day before the fight. So it's kind of hard to count that one as an L in my own mind, but again, it is an L. And then we have 2 winners as well. Was the Mario Pinto Diniz over 1.5 rounds last week. And we also had Navajo Sterling at odds of minus 200, which cashed with ease as he got a 30-27 over Rodolfo Bellato. So I'm hoping our fighter don't get hit by a car before the fight. I'm hoping our fighter doesn't lose via split decision. And I'm hoping to get another win, just like we did last week on Hammer of the Week. So I'm going to give you the hammer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our second section of the video, which is called Ladder the Hammer. And in that section, I give you some props to add on to the hammer. So the Hammer of the Week is going to be one bet, but then we're going to add some juicy props on to hopefully boost our bankroll. If our one bet cashes, then we're hoping to cash multiple other bets on the ladder. Remember, boys, I make 10 to 15 bets every single card. So as I always say, don't rely on my hammer. If you really want to know the bets I'm making to make real money, the link is in the bio for that. Like last week, for example, UFC Rio. I gave you Diniz and Pinto over 1.5 rounds as the hammer, which cashed. But look at all these other bets that I also had on the card that weren't in the Hammer of the Week video. We had Davis and Figueiredo at odds of plus 275. That was a gigantic cash for me and the VIP. We also had Julia Palastri via KO at odds of plus 1200 and her inside the distance at odds of plus 350. And we had her in a max bet with Joel Alvarez. Both of those fights cashed with complete ease. So if you want to get the real source, big underdogs and, you know, plus 1200 props and stuff like that, as I said, the link is in the bio. But let's get to this week's Hammer of the Week with no further ado, because I know everybody's waiting for that. So here we go, boys. Let's take a look at this week's hammer.
Here we go! Woo! Let's go. Oh, man, that feels incredible.
I'm in heaven. Cheers to me. This is the life. I could stay here forever. But F that, I got to get back to the grind. I'm back in the lab doing my calculations and man, this might just be crazy enough to work. These bookies are about to get hammered. Bang! Let's go! That's what I'm talking about. And there it is, Melissa Croden at odds of plus 105. So most of you are going to be saying to me, yo, James, who the hell is Melissa Croden? Well, don't worry. I've done the research. I've done the tape study. I've gone back and I've watched this girl's fights. So I'm going to tell you so you don't have to. So Melissa Croden is making a UFC debut this weekend in our home country of Canada, and she's taking on Tainara Lisboa. So people might be saying, damn, you picking a debutante for your Hammer of the Week? Damn, you picking an underdog for your Hammer of the Week? Yes and yes. Look, is this my most confident play on the entire card? No, there's some minus 300, minus 400 spots on there. I've actually bet some big favorites as well, but I'm not going to give you one of those today. I'm going to give you an underdog. in Melissa Croden. I believe she has the skill set needed to win the fight this weekend. Melissa Croden is a good striker, and that's what she mainly does. She likes to go into her fights and look to strike. She came up on the Taekwondo scene, so she has very good front kicks, very good lead leg kicks, and very good movement. She's very flexible in her kicks and her movement, and I think her footwork can play a good part in this fight. She's fighting Tainara Lisboa, who's a very fun action-based fighter, but she's a little bit flat-footed coming from the Muay Thai background, right? So she's going to be walking forward. Sometimes she takes one to give one, and she's a little bit flat-footed like a lot of Muay Thai fighters are, whereas we have Croden on the other hand, who's going to be a little bit more bouncy. I think she'll be able to judge distance a little bit better. And while I do see her getting tagged with the punches in this fight, I don't think that Tainara Lisboa has the boxing needed to really punish her. If we look at Melissa Croden's fight where she lost against Jacqueline Cavalcante, who's actually on a very long win streak in the UFC now, we'll see that she got dropped 3 times in round 1, right? So that was a bad look. But that was a 5-round fight, and every other round after that round was very close, right? And the entire fight was close outside of the first round. So I think that even though Melissa Croden hasn't shown herself in the UFC yet, being that this is her UFC debut, she has competed against girls who are in the UFC now, doing very well in the UFC, and done pretty well against them. Even though she lost clearly, she still performed very well in that fight. So I do think she has the skill set to be in the UFC. I do think she's a UFC level talent. I also believe that Tainara Lisboa is being overrated in this matchup. If we go back and look at Lisboa's career, we will actually see that she fought Valentina Shevchenko 10 years ago in Muay Thai. So this girl has been in the kickboxing Muay Thai scene for a very long time. It may have been a kickboxing bout, I don't know, it's all off the top of my head, guys. Then she transitioned to MMA. And her MMA career has done well because, you know, she's got to the UFC. But if we look at some of her UFC fights, she has shown a clear weakness in the ground game. And while Melissa Croden isn't the best takedown artist of all time, I do believe she's the better grappler of the two here. But I don't believe she's going to be the one forcing the grappling as much as I believe Lisboa will. It's funny because Lisboa loses most of her fights that she loses via grappling, yet she still tries to go in there and grapple a lot of her opponents, even when she has a striking advantage, even coming back from the Muay Thai and kickboxing scene, such high level, fighting people like Valentina Shevchenko. So I have to question the fight IQ of someone like Lisboa. She took Ravina Oliveira down multiple times in their bout, but got reversed sometimes. And she actually ended up on bottom in that 3rd round, which was not a good look because I don't rate Oliveira that highly. And then in her next fight against Luana Santos, she got taken down, completely mauled on the ground and finished with an Americana, right? And if you go back and look at her first ever fight in MMA, she got finished on the ground. So I feel like this girl can be finished on the ground a lot. I don't think she has a great ground game from bottom position. I don't think she has a good get-up game. So I give the favor to Melissa Croden if it gets into the grappling. But I also give the favor to Melissa Croden on the feet, or at least it's a very close fight. And I do think that Croden possesses some footwork, some range management, and some kicks that will trouble Lisboa. So the way I see it, Croden has the grappling upside. Croden can make it a very competitive fight on the feet, if not win there, if not 50-50 there. And lastly, this is something pretty big. I think she has a big fight IQ advantage. And then, now lastly, and this is something big, this fight is in Canada, right? Melissa Croden is Canadian. She's the hometown girl. I have to believe that if it goes to the judges' scorecards in a very close fight, which I expect it to be fairly close, unless Melissa can get the finish, then I feel like the judges are going to give the decision to Melissa Croden. Right? We can't always count on that, but it's definitely a bonus being here in Canada. So that is my hammer of the week this week. Melissa Croden at plus 105. You can get her at plus 110 in some places now. But we're not going to stop there. We've got our hammer of the week, but we're going to move on. And I'm going to give you some more plays that you can add to the hammer of the week in our section, Ladder the Hammer. Before we get to that, I want you to comment your hammer of the week down below. And on next week's show, if you get it right, if you give a good hammer, I'm going to shout you out and shout out some of the best ones. Before we add some props, let's take a look at last week's comments and see who had some of the best hammers in the comment section. So honorable mention here to Kappa's Delight. He said Palastri round 3, which cashed, and Joel Alvarez round 2, which should have cashed. Joel Alvarez round 1 should have cashed, and Joel Alvarez round 2 could have cashed. I mean, there was a point where he was maybe hitting Luque with around 100 unanswered shots, but because they wasn't powerful, the ref didn't stop it. But there was some dodginess going on in Brazil last week, man. We got Dead Ernu saying Okay, I'll just do the opposite this week. So sorry about your loss, brother. Commiserations to you. We got Emotionalist Artist saying he's talking about me, needs to be more real and honest. Stop saying we killed it last week when your max bet fails. Maybe more humility. My max bet cashed big time. That's 2 weeks in a row. We had Joel Alvarez. We had him parlayed and we beat the line massively. We ain't parlaying minus 700s. We had him parlayed with Julia Palastri. Massive cash for the boys. That was a 7-unit banger, moving my max bet record to 42 wins and 5 losses. And the very week before that, we had another max bet, which was Yusuf Zalal via submission. And we parlayed Zalal with Basharat. So another max bet cash. So 2 max bets in a row, boys. Shout out, Elite Zone, stay winning. I don't know why people lie on the internet, man. I'm tracked. My third-party record cannot be denied. We got Ryan Norman saying Charles was his lock of the week. So shout out to you, man. He definitely looked like a lock of the week. We've got Angus Hutchins saying hammer of the week is Charles via submission. There was a couple of Charles via subs in there. So, man, Charles Oliveira via submission is always going to be a good bet, man. So congratulations to you. So comment your hammer of this week down below and I'll shout you out next week if you cash. So boys, let's go to one of the most fun sections of the show. Let's move on to Ladder the Hammer. So how this section works is we've got our main hammer of the week, right? And that's Melissa Croden at odds of plus 105. So she's on the bottom rung of our ladder. And we're trying to make it to the top rung, right? So we're going to add a couple of props on, 2 props, one for the middle rung and one for the very top. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, all right, am I going to bet a via decision? I'm going to bet a KO, submission, like all the lines are up here and there's many different options we have. I'm kind of leaning to her winning a decision. I mean, at the end of the day, it's women's MMA. Both girls are kind of tough. Like, it's probably going to go to a decision, right? The over 2.5 rounds is minus 210. Melissa Croden via decision is plus 235. The thing is, boys, I don't really like that line. You know, I'd rather just play a money line. We're already getting plus money on the money line. I don't love plus 235 odds. I'm looking at it going, I want something a little bit more juicy. So now I'm going to look to the finish props. And I'm just going to keep it really simple here, boys. I'm going to go Melissa Croden round 2 and Melissa Croden round 3. Round 2 is plus 900 and round 3 is plus 1100, right? This is on Bet Online. You're going to get much better odds on a lot of different books. So we're going to track these much worse lines, but you'll definitely get better if you line shop. So that's it, boys. Like, I feel like she can break her late because 2 out of the 3 losses for Tainara Lisboa have been via finish. 2 of them have been via submission. So maybe we look to a submission. But at the end of the day, man, Croden is a striker and she does love the ground and pound. So I'm just going to stick to the round 2 and round 3 prop. And every single fight that Lisboa is in that gets late, she seems to, you know, her cardio seems to drop a little bit. Even in fights that she's won, she seems to be tired after she wins them. You know, the Jessica Rose Clark fight, she won that in the later rounds, but she kind of looked tired herself. Even after she got the finish, you know, she leant back, like put her hand over her face like, damn, I done it. You know, she was quite tired in that fight, even though she was pushing a good pace. So I feel like she might get a little bit tired here. I feel like she might get a little bit overwhelmed here. I could see her getting hurt to the body. I could see her getting taken down. I could see her getting reversed and ground and pounded on top. So look, it's not the most confident play. It's plus 1100, plus 900 for a reason. But we did Julia Palastri KO at plus 1200 last week, and that was in a women's MMA fight. So, you know, we can do it here again. Melissa Croden is this week's hammer of the week, and then we're adding a couple of props on tiny shots on Melissa Croden in round 2 and Melissa Croden in round 3. Like I said, boys, Hammer of the Week is a fun video I make every single week. If you want my official plays, and not only my plays, but how much to stake on each play individually to you in your own circumstance, because that's super important. That's just as important as the bets, is how much money you're putting on the bets, right? Because you could put so much money on the Hammer of the Week, but no money on the other bets, but the other bets might win and the Hammer of the Week might lose, right? So you have to know how to stake, bankroll management, and I tell you all of that and more. Long shot parlays, long shot props, etc. Link in my bio. Sublaunch.com/lucrative MMA. And that is it. Good luck. Let's cash another Hammer of the Week 2 weeks in a row and move to 3 and 2. Let's go, boys. See you in the next video.